16th, 2026 at 6:01. I will declare there is a quorum present, so we'll officially call this meeting to order. At this time, I will ask Councilman Rosso to lead us in both the pledge and the prayer.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for giving us this chance to come together. We pray, Lord, that you bless this meeting, that it would be what you want it to be. We thank you for our city manager, the mayor, councilman, all the participants, all you out there in cyber world, everybody under the sound of my voice, Lord, we pray that you would have your way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, and you may be seated. Next, we have any matters subsequent to posting.
No, sir.
There are none, so we'll move on to audience participation. The first one I have is, I want to say Carmen. I'm going to annihilate the last name, so I'm going to leave it at Miss Carmen, if that's okay with you. If I can get you to come on up to the podium.
Okay. Good evening to council members. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. Good evening, council members. Thank you for your time. We want to address our concerns about the cancellation of our 4 classes at the Zumba classes that we dance with at the Freeport Recreation Center. We were not informed early on about this cancellation of our classes. We were told abruptly by our instructor, as she was also told in the same manner. We asked why, and we were told it was a financial issue with the recreation center. Council members, this was implemented at the closing of this past month, and people had already paid for their membership. So they were very upset because they paid for the whole month and they were not going to get all the classes. So, which they would not have done if they had known ahead of time of the cancellation. Also, we feel that the office personnel could have informed us ahead of time or explained it to us in a better manner, which would have been the proper courtesy to us. To this day, there are members that don't know of our classes being canceled because there's nothing printed or any announcements or anything. There has not been a notice to inform anyone, not at the gym door or on Facebook. Council members, these classes are important to us as some of us are elderly in the classes, and we look forward to Zumba classes to help us with our health issues, as it is a very good exercise class, very good. And it is we get to release our stress, we get to heal, and we get healthy and enjoy the time with each other. Zumba is a very important part of our lives. All right, and we have 40 members at our Zumba classes, not all at one time, but they come at different times because we had different classes. So now those people can't come because of their work schedules. So at different times, so because of the schedules, and these are their days that they can come. Council members, we are asking for you to, if you can, reconsider reinstating our classes because we really need them. Right? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for bringing this.
Yes, sir.
So what button am I hitting wrong, Toby? There we go. Next, I have Mr. Manning Rollerson.
Good evening, council, city manager. I'm coming to address you guys about the 14 appeals court decision that the Tilley family, the Marshall family, won against the Port of Freeport, Texas. So what is the city gonna do? Because it's outright a crime that was committed against the residents of Freeport, and it was ruled as a crime because there was no clear public path. I addressed this with you guys before, more than once. You guys say that y'all are fighting for every resident in this city. But what happened to the Black Historical District or the East End if you were fighting for everybody in this city? Y'all rolled over and turned over the East End knowing there was not a clear public path. Now the residents who own property over there is seeking to bring a class action lawsuit against the Port of Freeport and the city of Freeport. The only alternative that I have for Freeport, if you come on board with the people and fight with the people, I will sue y'all guys for that $1 million. Because you was just as much complicit because Troy Brimage was complicit. You was on the council, Mr. Mayor. So was Brooke Bass. All of my federal records point back to you guys, the Port of Freeport, making an illegal allocation when there's clearly no public pathway. So now, what is the city gonna do? Acquire the rights for the people, the black residents that you represent right here in the city of Freeport. Every last one of y'all. A crime was done, irreparable harm was done, land was stolen, you were complicit. Now what are you gonna do? Because this is not going unchecked. Accountability is gonna come. If it have to come from me alone, it's gonna come. Because I'm gonna sue the city. And you can't stand no suit. This is your public notice. We want accountability, we want our land back, or we want righteous compensation. Because it was illegal, and the courts found it to be illegal. So now either y'all standing with us as the residents of Freeport, or you standing against us. But accountability must come, Mr. Mayor. Because all of us have to follow by the rule of law in this country, and in this city, and this county. And it's used against us as black people. We expect the law to be upheld when it's a corporation or anybody else, Mr. Mayor. Justice must be served. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Rollerson. Next, we have Esmeralda Castillo.
That's the same thing for the Zumba. Maybe y'all could, do something about it because it's for healthy issues. My son was on medication.
Can you speak at in the mic, please?
My son used to be on medication before he started Zumba, and then they took away all that medication. He's not on medication, and he does Zumba, and he's in excellent, his numbers come out good. My numbers come out good.
Wow.
My doctor's very happy with my health. Since I started Zumba, it's been helping me a lot. So maybe y'all could get it, get the classes back, reinstate.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Miss Melanie Oldham, you have on here that you would like to speak on 4D and 4F. Would you like to speak now or wait until that point? Next, we have Mr. Sam Reyna.
Mayor, Council, good evening. My name is Sam Reyna, and I reside at 2002 North Avenue G. Cameras, metal detectors, bay leaves. This is no longer a city council meeting chamber. It now feels like a courtroom. Looks like a courtroom, even smells like a courtroom. So I guess it's now a courtroom. All because Councilman Peña fantasy, mistaken belief that someone is trying to assassinate him is costing us, the taxpayers, a lot of money. If it's a legitimate, justifiable threat, then money should be spent to protect the public. In Peña's case, his hallucinations are not legitimate. He does not need protection. If anybody needs protection, it's Nicole and I. Councilman Peña's false, misleading, and opinion-based statements channeled towards Nicole and I that we're now fearing for our lives. Who's going to protect us? I was saying that this was a city council chamber, has the atmosphere of a courtroom. If that is the case, we should abide by rules and regulations of a courtroom. No hats, caps, bandanas, or do-rags. Mr. Peña is always late for council meetings and never removes his hat inside this chamber. There is no single universal state law banning hats, but nearly all courts enforce this rule through local rules, standing orders, or judicial discretion to maintain decorum. Hats and hat coverings are almost universally prohibited inside courtrooms. Almost all jurisdictions in Texas prohibit hats, caps, and sometimes bandanas inside a courtroom. When Peña wears his cap inside this chamber, he is disrespecting the gallery and the governing body. He didn't wear his cap inside Jeremy Warren's chambers or inside Greg Hill's chambers. Why? Because he knew better. But here in Freeport, he wears his cap. That's how much disrespect he has for the city. Agenda item 4D, year 2022, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce wanted the city to donate the property where the community hall was located for the new administration building. At the time, those 3+ acres were worth over $300,000, and the HCC wanted the city to donate the property free. The removal of restrictions on the city's own 25-acre tract is a brainchild of Councilman Peña and his sidekick, Adam Landis. My opinion, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce still wants that property donated to them. The entity that can remove those restrictions is the Texas Park and Wildlife Commission. The property is considered a park. 4C, grant burning material equipment, the petition for release from extraterritorial jurisdiction. The city never accepted VME as part of our family. What we done to VME 7-8 years ago was very, very ugly. I'm surprised it took burning material equipment this long to request a release.
Thank you, Mr. Reyna. Next, we have Miss Ashley Hurst.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I'd like to take a moment to encourage our residents, business owners, or maybe just frequent community visitors to participate in the Community Feedback Survey for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-2027 budget, which is now available on the Finance Department page of the city's website. This survey is part of a new community engagement tool the city has launched to make it easier than ever for residents to share their thoughts, priorities, and ideas as we begin planning for the next fiscal year. The city is entering an exciting time with new management, fresh perspectives, and a strong commitment from staff to move Freeport forward in the direction that our residents and council envision. Our team is motivated and prepared to lead with innovation and transparency, but meaningful progress will only happen when we work together. That is why community input is so important. The ideas, feedback, and priorities shared by our residents help guide the decisions that we will make and ensure that our plans truly reflect the needs and vision of this community. In addition to this budget survey, residents can subscribe through the tool and will be notified when future surveys are posted. We'll have the opportunity to participate in possible voting on ideas and sharing feedback on a variety of topics that will impact the city. We encourage everyone to take a few minutes to participate and make their voice heard. Collaboration is the foundation of great communities, and together we can shape a future for Freeport that reflects the wonderful ideas and aspirations of the people who call it home. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all we have on audience participation, so we'll move on to proclamations, presentations, and updates. Dr. Kelly.
Yes, thank you. We have an Employee of the Month, Miss Kelly Yates. Is she here? Excellent. Come on up. So I'd like to read what her supervisor says about her. Miss Yates is an independent self-starter that consistently manages her department with little to no additional help. She provides exceptional customer service to those that are often already upset when they arrive. She approaches these customers in a friendly, personable manner that truly makes a difference to the customer. She knows the court procedures, forwards and backwards, and ensures that all procedures, laws, and deadlines are adhered to adequately. In addition, her knowledge of procedures helps the customer experience, as she is able to fully explain all of their options in an easy-to-understand manner. She takes pride in every report she prepares for both the judges and the state. She has taken the initiative to pursue her Certified Court Clerk Level 2 certification, and we can't wait to celebrate this achievement with her. Kelly is an absolute asset to the Finance Department and the City of Freeport. I probably should have mentioned she's our court supervisor.
You want to let us know what's coming up as well?
Sorry. So our upcoming events, we have Move and Groove Freeport Downtown, March 21st at 7:30 a.m. We have Blue Santa Annual Golf Fundraiser at the Freeport Golf Course, March 27th, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have our Easter Egg Extravaganza at Freeport Municipal Park, March 28th at 9 a.m. and Community Cleanup at 431 West 4th Street, April 18th at 8 a.m.
I really enjoy seeing that community cleanup. The spring is here. Next, we have agenda item 3, the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have 2 items. 3A, action regarding the minutes of March 2nd, 2026 meeting, And 3B, action approving the monthly financial report through February 28th, 2026. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion needed on this, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 4A, consideration and possible action awarding RFQ number 2026-01, the Heritage House Architectural and Design Services to Slate Architecture. Ms. Hurst.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is an item for consideration and possible action to award RFQ number 2026-01 to Slate Architecture. The city issued a request for qualifications for architectural and design services related to the Heritage House project, that's also known as Pixie House. Slate Architecture was the only response that we received, but their proposal was reviewed in depth by city engineer, city manager, building official, Main Street coordinator, and myself. After review, staff does believe that Slate Architecture is well qualified and provided a very strong response for the needs of this project. Because the Heritage House is a historic structure, that this firm will also be required to coordinate with and follow guidance from the Texas Historical Commission to ensure that the project meets all historical preservation standards. Awarding the RFQ tonight will allow staff to begin contract negotiations with Slate and further define the specific design and planning needs for this project as we move forward. Staff recommends approval, and Mr. Kelly from Slate Architecture is here tonight if anyone would like or has any questions or would like to speak to him. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst.
You're welcome.
Council, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Nice. We have a motion to approve by Councilman Davis. Is there a second? I will second it. Any discussion on this, gentlemen?
I have a few questions.
Yes.
This is really for staff. You know, the background on this here, Pixie House, was that we actually had the council, I think before 2020, which was before I got on board, had passed a budget for the repairs and renovations of the Pixie House. And I'm just kind of curious what happened to that scope of work that that was used to arrive to the budget. I think the budget was somewhere around 700,000, maybe 600,000. Does anybody have that number on what that originally was?
I do, if I can clarify. The budget is still earmarked in the 2020 bond funds, and it's for $375,000.
375,000. I knew there was a 7 in there. Thank you. So in that bond fund, I don't know if there's any literature or any documentation identifying exactly what was going to be covered with that 375, but here we are 6 years later, if not more, trying to put this money to use, and I'm glad that we're finally here. But I know that along the way, that the EDC, back in 2022, when I was still on it in 2021, we had interest in that space from various business owners and restaurants. And the thought process there would be, hey, we can just get some general contractors to give us some bids of what needed to be done to get the property back up to a usable state, safe, and would be also repaired back to the I guess the architectural standards that are in there now. So I'm kind of curious how we got this RFQ to go out to potentially basically reinvent the wheel here. And I know that we talked about this 2 years ago as well, when we had IAD architects looking at this again. And then I rose a flag on that simply because they were a part of the Covarrubias investigation. And then I didn't think it was very prudent for us to be engaging a company to do the architecture while there was an ongoing investigation. And now there's a lawsuit with Covarrubias. And so, in one hand, while I'm glad to see the attention and the light being directed toward the Pixie House, because it is a very critical structure in downtown, and a lot of opportunity there to get its usage back up, because it was used very frequently. I would say 3 weeks out of the month, or 3 weekends out of the month, it was being used throughout the year. So certainly it's the importance of it being back on the available structures or the available properties that the city can either lease out on a weekend basis, or for that matter, lease out to a potential long-term tenant is, I believe the demand is still there. But I'm just curious why we sent out an RFQ to have this paid for in terms of design and architecture, when I thought that had already been established, and at this point it was really just a matter of going out and getting some general contractors to assess exactly what it would take to get the property back up to a usable, occupiable, and functional state.
So just to clarify, this RFQ has been posted, I believe, 3 times at the direction of your request, actually, as we've tried to get plans. The most recent request, we've actually never received any response, but the most recent request was when Mr. Pennington was here, and so that's why it got posted this time.
I got you. Well, I'm glad that it did. I'm just wondering, as we sit here tonight, if we might just be able to take a moment here to pump the brakes, because what I'm curious is, or concerned with, rather, is if we're going to be spending these monies on architecture to define the scope of work, when we might be able to get that for free through general contractors. And so that's my question, and that's my concern. And so, do we have a figure or an idea of what this engagement or potential contract with the architects here tonight?
Nothing can be negotiated until council selects the firm.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have any knowledge of Slate Architectures. I presume that they meet all the standards that were part of the RFQ, which is great. I'm just, again, curious why we're looking at that, taking this approach. I know we talked about an RFQ, and maybe there was a breakdown in communication. I really just wanted to make sure that that some kind of attention was being placed on this, only because that money had been sitting there for 6 years, the $375. My intention was not so much as to try to engage another architectural firm so that we, spend money that we probably didn't need to, and then that money would be saved and utilized for the actual construction cost for the future construction company. So that's my concern, Mayor, and I don't know if anybody else was aware of the history on that, so I wanted to make sure I shared that.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I got one.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Appreciate all you do. I do recall that we had talked about this since I've been on council, so I'm glad to hear that it's finally up and moving. I think we had some RFQs go out and no responses. I think we did have one person here to start off. I don't know if that was a contractor or that was but they backed out for some other reason. So, but I just wanted to get done right. So, I mean, I think taking the steps, sometimes you got to spend some money to make something, get something done right. We have had that place built, and remodeled or whatever, and before I got here, and it looks like everything was done wrong, and because you didn't spend no money, not you, but the city didn't spend it and didn't take the proper steps to get it built and remodeled right. So I think, but I would like to ask them
Sure.
them a question.
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
All right. Could you state your name and your business for me right quick?
I'm Kelly Axman with Slate Architecture. I'll be the project architect.
Okay. All right.
Responded to the RFQ.
All right. We appreciate you coming out. How long y'all been in business?
Started in Omaha, Nebraska 30 years ago, and, in Montana 20 years ago. And then recently, I relocated down to Texas 3 years ago.
All right. Well, welcome. Welcome. All right. Could you give me some input? Let's see, why y'all would be beneficial to helping us get this project up and going? And
Yeah, absolutely. When the RFQ came out, I did know a little bit of the history, saw some previous RFQs come out for a contractor. And I believe that going out for an RFQ for an architect and design team is the right first step. Just given the complexity of and the age of the building, going through and establishing those construction documents or the as-built and knowing the condition of the facility, because I think there's going to be a structural engineering assessment that needs to be done, make sure the foundation's good. But also, if this is going to be an assembly space or entertainment space, if you're going to have a couple hundred people up on that second level, structural engineer is going to need to look at that floor and make sure it can hold as many people as it can, or put a limit on that. As well as once you get over a certain occupancy in that second level, you're going to need a second stairway for an exit. And I believe that's what that structure was meant to do. That's on the east side, but there was never an opening created. And that's just before diving into the project and going over the scope. But I think that's that first step, is to do a full building assessment. It needs envelope upgrades for water infiltration, the windows and the framing around those windows. When we walked through the building at the end of January, you could tell that there's a lot of leaking. So I think Slate Architecture is the right first step. We've got a great team of a structural engineer out of Cyprus, as well as a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer, and to bring everything up to code, look at ADA accessibility, make it accessible, and then look at, again, structural. So we are, that's why I'm here tonight. We love helping out towns, cities. Again, I'm from Montana. I've helped out. I've done a community center for a county that is 457 people big. Town has 200 people in it, maybe. So regardless of the size, we love helping communities and really enjoy seeing the impact that our work can do to make it a better place, especially for places for people to gather.
all right. Well, appreciate that. All right, we appreciate you. We thank you for coming out. That is I've been in that place. I've been to a wedding there. I've been to another birthday party or something, and that's one of our, like we have a river place or whatever, and it's packed. I mean, it's rented every weekend, and so then we have a smaller, so it's nothing in between. And then that could be like a nicer venue for us to do. But I like the point that you brought up about the stairway, because I remember going in there, and I never thought about that. But, if something happens up there, everybody's got to come down this stairway, and you got to have another exit. I mean, I don't know why that wasn't looked into, but, stuff like that, you need to know that, and you need to point that stuff out. But I thank you for your presentation, and nice to meet you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Axman, thanks for coming out. You know, I haven't, I'm curious in terms of what you looked at and what the scope of the project is in terms of what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to achieve just restoring it as it is, or also expanding its usability? Because I know the conversations that I had here in recent months with city staff was that the interest in that space was to ensure that there was elevator usage installed, number one, and also that a commercial kitchen would be actually placed in that space so that the either the use of it by a restaurant going forward would be turnkey and also just completely code compliant. And if in the case we were to just do weekend rentals, that it would also still be both usable and up to code.
Yeah, when responding to the RFQ, the goal that we have set out is, first, we want to establish a scope and a budget and a schedule, and that's something that we will do, get our design team down here and discuss. We can have community meetings. We love, when we're using public funding, any sort of public funding, we like to have the community involved and input, but also having a building committee that we can go directly to and then figure out the scope. So if it is that commercial kitchen, identify that space program and what you want that building to be. I think as an event space, you don't necessarily have to have a commercial kitchen.
Right.
But if that includes you need a warming kitchen or kitchenette. So put some of those appliances in there that you don't have to have a commercial hood for.
Right.
So it's establishing that scope and then defining those spaces. I'm ready to go on this project and really excited about it. It's a cool building. Don't necessarily think you need an elevator, but there's lifts that you can use that are not elevators and less complex.
Yeah.
Rather than having this chair on the stairwell there. And so there's different alternatives, but first it comes down to defining the scope of the project, and then putting these plans together. The demolition, I think we're going to need a new envelope, and we can do some preliminary cost estimates and work with the budget and then a preliminary budget, and then you can phase the project out. But first, just define the scope will be the first step of the project.
And you guys, your team has walked the property already inside and out?
I have.
You have?
Yep.
So I don't know, what were your top 3 issues that you identified? I'm curious.
The first one, I did not get a good look at it, but would be the looking at the foundation. The second one is the envelope. That might be my main concern. And some structural floor upgrades, stairs. We had to walk to one side of the wall because the stairs weren't as stable. And so structural engineering for sure, and the envelope. And then I think it comes along with it, but mechanical, electrical, plumbing is making sure everything's upgraded and the wiring's up to code. And because I think we're going to have to reskin the building, but also look at interior finishes as well. And it's not necessarily we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. The building's super cool, but trying to put it back in its place and not make it something that it's not.
Well, thank you for that answer. When you say the envelope being redone, that's referring to the exterior and the windows, right? Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I can tell you that the contractors that I walked the property with, I identified the primary issue with the Pixie House was that, I'm not sure that they didn't have architectural plans when they first went out and renovated it back in who knows what. If anybody knows that date where the Pixie House was actually redone, maybe after 2012. I think Mr. Pines was here at the time. Either way, the word on the street has always been that there were no inspections. And so windows were installed without the right seals and the right folding of, the waterproofing. And so that, what is it, like a rubber sealant and, or that rubber fold. And that created a lot of the problems. And the moisture penetration not only compromised the windows, but it caused water leaks into the interior, which ended up ruining all the carpentry, wainscoting, trim work. And so now you have, I'm not sure if there was a termite problem, or if it was just the water damage problem. Were you able to assess that, the difference?
I was not. I assumed that it was rot,
Mhm.
rot from the moisture.
Yeah.
And so mold is a concern.
Right.
And that's when, we can take the skin off from both sides and assess if we need to replace structure stud by stud.
Well, I know that the takeaway on it is that thing would have to be taken down to the studs, first and foremost. And then, for that matter, on the outside, I'm not sure how deteriorated the exterior was. I know where there was hardy, that was still in pretty good condition, but anywhere else where there was wood, it wasn't treated wood, so that was rotted. And of course, the windows are still good. It's just, they need to be reinstalled. And that's just kind of a heads up on this. I will say for me here, I know that, I don't know that we have plans, the original plans when it was done. Was that ever brought to anybody's attention on city staff, whether there was original plans?
I haven't seen any of
Okay. Dr. Kelly, we haven't seen any?
Sir, I have.
Okay. So, that said, we're going to get it done, let's get it done right, I would say that. But the other part is that, one problem we've always had in the past, which I don't think we're going to have going forward, because we have a pretty good team, and that is the oversight and the accountability and who you would be reporting to here at the city. And so I'm curious, Dr. Kelly, who in the city staff would be helping to assure that Mr. Axman here and his team are basically being compliant, and then so that we can have this done as streamlined and efficiently and quickly as possible?
Well, certainly our building official, Mr. Harris, would be a point of contact for
Okay.
this.
Great. I could sit here tonight and say, listen, I want to see the numbers, but we'll see that proposal down the road. I think this is a step in the right direction, so I want to thank the staff for putting this together, and let's get it moving. Thank you.
Anything from this side?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you, Mayor. So Kelly, looking over your, the information that we've been provided, your resume, and your firm's resume, it looks like all of your work has been completed in Montana. You do have some, your structural director, engineer has some work done. But from what I've looked over, do y'all have any experience with historic buildings that are not residential? Because I only see one residential and then one that was office.
The residential project that you are referring to there was a change of occupancy, and that was turned into a commercial business, and then renovated into a two-complex apartment or condos in a historic place. It still had to follow the National Historical Registry process for. And then the other was that we had put in our RFQ was an old hospital building that was then transitioned a couple different things, but then renovated for a family services organization just recently.
Okay. And if I heard you correctly, you stated you would bring a team in to look at the Pixie House and make recommendations of what needs to be done, but you'd also like to get community involvement. Of course, that will be negotiated in the price, but I mean, that sounds like a lot of money. Have you come up with a preliminary budget for that? Because, I mean, you've just basically heard we have $375,000 earmarked for this. That's going to go really quick without even getting into construction. And then at today's construction prices, we're looking at a 1.2 million probably remodel. And we got more pressing items within our city than to spend $1.2 million on a building. Is that something that's been talked about?
It has not. I cannot put numbers to that tonight. But I think that is the first step, is doing an assessment and then working with you all. If there is a building committee, we'll meet with anybody you want us to. And so if you don't want community involvement or limited community involvement, and it's just talking to a committee, we can communicate with whoever you would like us to. And from a budget standpoint, I think you are correct that renovation price might be up in that range. But I think the first step is what I plan to do is get a 3D scanner, and I will walk that building, walk that site, and model this building three-dimensionally. And then we can get our design team on here and create an as-built set of plans, at the very least that you, the city, have record of at that point. But also that is how we are going to start construction documents and phasing this project to know what needs to be done. So if it's something that you need to do, maybe we can look at a preliminary architecture report and getting grant money for that. But this could be that roadmap to getting construction done, or if funds become available, you have those drawings right there that you can go out to RFQ for a contractor right then and there and get the project completed.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Mayor, I got one more question and one follow-up.
Okay.
Just to make sure there's no confusion, there's no 1.2 million on this project, number one. The budget is 375, number one, or number two. The other thing I want to let you know about is a couple of things, and maybe the public as well and the rest of council. And that is that, probably less than 2 years ago, we got an estimate on that property, the Pixie House, and even a couple of years before that. And I remember the same problems were there that were, I just discussed a moment ago. And the price point to actually do it, woodwork, bona fide carpenters, not just somebody hacking out away at the woodwork. And for that matter, the windows, everything was identified, which we touched on. The only thing that wasn't touched on was the kitchen. Okay, we did include the elevator. And the price point for that came to $250. It was actually lower, but I remember having the conversation, said, hey, listen, you better put a cushion in there in case there's some problems with that elevator pricing and the elevator installation. And so I remember thinking, well, I'm glad there's 375, but I'd love to come under budget on this thing here. So I can't imagine that in a 2-year period that the pricing has gone up 400%. And so I want to make sure that I think the $1.2 million that was being referred to was related to the city hall, not the Pixie House. So the city hall had a budget that we passed a year and a half or 2 years ago as well, and that one was for $1.2 million. And but this particular project was at 375. So when you're saying, hey, this might go to 1.2 million, I'm already getting a whole bunch of red flags just because I've had boots on the ground from real contractors stating what those numbers are. So I'm hoping that that was just a mistake of misunderstanding.
I just want to clarify for the public and anyone that might be listening, but there's not 1.2 million in the bond funds for City Hall. I don't want.
No, not in
the
bond
wrong-
funds. No, I think there was just a set aside for that particular project.
There are funds in two different funds, but both combined do not total 1.2 million.
Can you tell me what the total is?
I can follow up in writing tomorrow so
That'd be
that I
great.
can make
Yeah.
sure it's an accurate number.
Well, I know that the number was somewhere around, I think, 1.2, maybe 1.3 for some mold remediation, but then we lost $345,000 because the city manager had wired money in advance, unauthorized, illegally. So that's why we're here today, and we want to be very careful as we move forward into this. Again, I don't want us to confuse the City Hall project with this one. This one's at 375.
There's no
And
confusion.
so.
No
and
confusion.
so,
I know exactly what I'm
the point I
talking
wanna
about.
make-
One person talking at a time, please, Councilman.
Thank you. I want to be clear that, for the last 6, 7 years, this has been right outside my front door, so I know exactly what it's about. I know the scope of it. I've done the homework because at one point, the EDC was going to try to help finance, and then when we found out that there was the money there set aside, then we thought, well, maybe we can at least help to spearhead it in for that matter, maybe even supplement whatever shortages might be there. And that should probably be still held true today, to get the downtown area. I know the EDC is working on, with the city here, to make sure that we revitalize downtown, and this is part of that step forward. And so I'll be very curious of what those numbers will be. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yep.
for your time.
Councilman Matamoros?
I was just stating that there's no confusion. I know exactly what I'm stating, talking about. Yes, there's never been any numbers brought to council. I do know I've seen pictures of Councilperson Pena on his own bringing contractors in there with the city attorney. There's nothing ever been discussed by the council on this. So, yeah, I know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, I was actually just by myself. It was just me.
One conversation at a time, please.
Yep.
Councilman Rosso, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll chime in. We talking a turnkey job, or are we talking getting the building to where it's not being destroyed? The building is being destroyed because of the weather, because of the windows. Has anyone talked to you about doing that?
The only thing, I was on site on January 28th for a pre-submission walkthrough. And just for, Joy was there for maybe an hour. And what the scope of the RFQ had said. So there's a lot of speculation as I'm speaking in front of you tonight, just based on my immediate observations. The goal of the project is to be able to obtain a certificate of occupancy. That means bringing it up to code in every asset or every facet that we need to by law. So by all Texas code that we need to bring up ADA, structurally, mechanically, electrically, plumbing, for that space to be brought to compliance. And so that's what we would be doing.
We could, go ahead, Ashley.
Well, I just wanted to clarify, I think maybe I should have presented it a little bit better from the get-go, that tonight, essentially, we posted a job opening, and Mr. Kelly with Slate Architecture sent us his resume, and he said, I saw what you're looking for, and I'm interested, but we can't talk details or get into all of the nitty-gritty until we start those contract negotiations. So tonight, we're just here to say we saw his resume and we would be interested. I wanted to clarify that we're not putting we can't put a dollar amount on anything per Texas law. We can't discuss that until after council says that it is okay to begin those negotiations. So a lot of things can't be answered just yet. When we were to get, or if we do get to that next step, then those plans or that scope of service, scope of work, sorry, that contract, all of that comes back to you again when we have all those fine details. And he's able to give more of that very detailed input that I think some of y'all are thinking we should have tonight, but that's not the process that we're required to follow, if that makes sense.
Thank you for that
Thank you, that's good
clarification.
clarification.
Anything else, Councilman Rosso?
Answer my question?
You asked if we'd turnkey project?
No, I'm saying, we've already established that we can't do a turnkey with the money we have. But the money we have can make that building actually stop what's going on. And it has been going on for a long time. I mean, and that's with the windows. That's our biggest problem is the when it rains, the walls, the floor, all that gets water. And you know, water and wood don't match. And that's what I was wondering, if, has anyone said anything about, let's just get the building to where it's not deteriorating? Because it is, it's deteriorating as we speak, because we just had a big rain, and we're gonna have some more rain. And if we just keep letting it take on all this water because of the windows, all the windows, there's, what, 9, 10, 12 windows, those big windows that they weren't done right when we first, built the thing.
To answer your question, yes, if that's where that budget leads in the scope, we will protect that from further deterioration.
Yeah, actually,
in the design work.
you hear what he's saying?
I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page tonight, that y'all weren't
Yeah.
agreeing into specific details. We're just saying, hey, we want to keep talking to you about this project.
And he's the only one we're talking to, right? Right now. Okay. I just want him to know that that's something we want. We want that. Y'all, we throwing around 1.2 and that sort of thing, but 375, right? That's what we got. We got $375,000 to work with. And we should be able to make it so, I use the word dried in, where it's not raining outside and inside on a wood floor.
Yes, sir.
Wood building, wood studs. I mean, that water is ruining everything. It's ruining sheetrock, it's ruining studs, it's ruining joists, it's ruining everything. The water is. And I'm glad to see that we are, in fact, talking about this. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, man, at all. I'm not.
No, sir.
I'm just making a suggestion. That's all. And Ashley's my witness.
Well, personally, I'm glad that we're to this point. The Pixie House has been sitting vacant for way too long with no answers. What are we going to do? As you mentioned, this is the first step. Okay, so in my opinion, we need to take this step, find out where we stand, what it's going to take. Ashley might have to do some creative financing, or we might have to look for another grant. But at the end of the day, if we don't do nothing, then eventually the Pixie House is going to come down, even if it comes down by itself in the next hurricane. But should we proceed, historic preservation, utmost important.
Yes, sir. We're here to help.
All right, so council, I will call the vote. All those in favor, state aye. Aye. All opposed, state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item 4B, discussion and direction, the development of the 2026 City Council strategic priorities. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor and council members, residents of Freeport. Tonight's discussion is intended to begin the council's visioning and goal-setting process for the coming fiscal year. My role tonight is simply to help guide the conversation and capture council's initial direction before we take these themes out to the community for additional input. Rather than focusing on specific projects right away, the goal of tonight's conversation is to step back and talk about the outcomes council wants to see for the future of Freeport. Following tonight's discussion and the community engagement process, staff will return to council with feedback and analysis to help inform the priorities that will guide development of the FY 26-27 budget and work program. So in preparation for tonight's meeting, council members were asked to submit up to 3 strategic priorities they would like the city to focus on moving forward. After reviewing those submissions, several common themes began to emerge across the ideas that were shared. Those themes generally relate to infrastructure, public safety, youth opportunities, economic development, and how the city delivers services. Tonight, we will walk through those themes. The intent is not to finalize decisions tonight, but rather to begin shaping the direction council would like to explore further. Here's my pretty design. When looking across the submissions from council members, several common themes began to emerge. You can see those here. We have infrastructure and utilities, public safety assets, youth recreation, economic development and tourism, municipal service delivery, and city facilities and public assets. Each of these areas reflects ideas raised directly by council members and represents potential focus areas for future planning and investment. Over the next several slides, we will briefly walk through each theme and highlight discussion items identified through council input. Several council members emphasized the importance of maintaining and improving the city's core infrastructure systems. These systems are foundational to everything else the city does. Reliable drainage, wastewater capacity, and utility infrastructure directly affect public health, economic development, and the city's ability to grow. Council submissions referenced concerns related to flooded and drainage performance in certain areas of the city, wastewater system performance during rain events, the capacity and condition of lift stations, and understanding whether existing infrastructure can support future development. One potential direction raised was the idea of conducting a citywide infrastructure capacity and growth impact review so the city can better understand where investments may be needed over time. And if you have any questions or want me to stop for discussion, please let me know. Public safety. Another theme raised by council members relates to the visibility and condition of public safety infrastructure. While these items are sometimes small individually, they can play an important role in emergency response and community safety. Council input included ideas such as improving hydrant visibility through repainting and roadway location markers, and replacing outdated roadway signage with modern reflective signage that meets current engineering standards. Maintaining these assets and ensuring they are clearly visible and properly maintained can support faster emergency response and improved safety outcomes.
Okay. Excuse me.
Yes.
All right, so we're going on, go back, where you at? This is a new one?
This is, would you like to go back?
Yes.
Yes.
So these, did we have any, what was I gonna say? Do we have any suggestions on how we're gonna get to, how do we improve these issues that were brought up? Was there any suggestions in that plan, whoever submitted this?
No, so at this point, we're looking at overarching themes. And then as a group, I'm bringing these back April 20th. If we can agree that these are the 6 main priorities that council would like to focus on going forward, then I will take them to the community and meet with different groups, businesses, churches, residents, to find out, what they see as a priority and what they would like the council to focus on. I'll bring all that feedback to you on April 20th, and then you'll choose the top 2 or 3 that then we can start building next year's budget to address those goals? So we're at the very early stages of the process.
Yeah, it's early stages. I mean, so it would be talked about, like, say for instance, I guess you go back and you on the pipes and the, what is this one? This is the second one, so the first one. So improving drainage, address water system, you know, lift station. I mean, you know, how, well, I guess we would talk about how we would go by that. So like drainage and pipes, old pipes and stuff. You would get engineers and go around the city and map out where the pipes at, where the oldest pipes at, where the pipes at that have problems, and make a plan on start from the oldest pipes, you know, just start replacing the oldest pipes from the pipes that have problems, you know.
That would be one way to address it. Another would be, if this is a goal that you have decided on for next budget year, we would start moving all of our asset allocations to address those flood-prone areas, and that could be culvert cleanouts, jetting, lines. I mean, there's a lot you could do besides just
okay.
ripping up infrastructure and replacing it.
All right, so that'll be next, okay.
Yes.
Later on.
Yes.
This one suggestion is I would say a quick fix, not as expensive. Painting the fire hydrants, documenting the fire hydrants, where they are. We should have a list of every fire hydrant and where it is, and we should have a marker in the road, because these are our fire hydrants and these are our streets. I know we can't mess with the state streets, but we can inform them. But there should be markings at every fire hydrant. And the sign, the road signage was supposed to be done in 2023. All the signage in the city of Freeport should have high visibility, and a lot of our signs are engineer grade, which went out of date back in the 2019, 2017, or something like that. We're supposed to be up to code, but we're not, because I've rode around and I've seen signs that you can't even hardly read them. Those are what I call quick fix. All you have to do is buy the signs and have somebody install them. All you have to do is get somebody out with either a gun, a spray gun, or with a painting brush, and paint them. I mean, the visibility is important. If you're a fireman and you're trying to find a fire hydrant at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it'd be better for the person that's looking for that fire hydrant to be able to see it from a distance. And that is what I call quick fixes. It doesn't cost that much money, nearly as much as like what Councilman Davis saying, you know, replacing pipe, digging up the ground. You know, I'm not trying to say, you know, Jarvis, what you're saying is not right, but, you know, I'm just putting my 2 cents on it. It would be a quick fix compared to some of the other things that's going to be brought up. That's all I got.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman.
Ms. Kelly, let me just kind of piggyback off of what Councilman Rosso just described. You know, we're going to be going through the various highlighted items. It's 6 of them, right? And the top one's the community priorities, and we'll gauge, we'll give you feedback on what those priorities are. I could tell you a couple of things that I want to mention here at this point before we go on too much further along is that we've done a lot of these studies with the public in the past. I'm not sure if you're privy to all of those notes just yet, but a lot of the studies that we've done have come back to what those priorities are and were, and I still think they remain. And so I'm hoping that someone on staff might be able to point you in that direction, or anybody else on council, to help streamline that process so that we don't waste any time, because time is of the essence. And, you know, as much as I like to make sure that the community is involved, I know that one of the constant complaints is that we've done so many studies, we've had so many meetings, and nothing's getting done, right? But I think what you're trying to achieve here is a little deeper. You're trying to say, hey, so what are we going to do as a priority? And I think, you know, there's going to be the obvious ones, right? The infrastructure ones that really matter in terms of public safety. I think those are going to always be the high priority ones with infrastructure. But, you know, to the point of what Rosso was describing, I think that, and you know, we hired you for your management skills, your project management skills, and so I would just hope to see that you're identifying not only what the high priority ones are, but also what the low-hanging fruit ones are that are just so cheap and inexpensive that we can knock those out and get some real easy wins right out of the gate, without that being part of the study. The stuff that looks like the common sense stuff. And what's your response to that?
Right, which is why I couched this from the beginning, that it's a high-level strategic priorities and not project-based at this point.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of low-hanging fruit projects out there, and we are tackling them as we go along.
Well, you know, I know that, you know, for the fire hydrant one, I know that that was probably one of Rosso's submissions, and I know that he brought it up at the last couple of meetings with Veolia's representative, Mr. Javon, here, and so I'm glad that that's on here, and to me, that seems like a very easy effort, and I'm glad that we may not have to extend any more money or time and energy on that because we have Veolia extending that time and energy.
That's correct, and one of the additions to the contract was identifying about a dozen fire hydrants that are out, and they have to be in compliance within 90 days of execution. So that's one of the exhibits to the new contract.
Awesome.
That you'll hopefully be seeing in the next week or two.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. No
All
further
right,
comments.
let's proceed.
Thank you. So another reoccurring theme in council submissions was the importance of expanding opportunities for youth engagement and recreation. These types of investments can strengthen community life and make the city more attractive to families. Some of the ideas discussed include evaluating the feasibility of a sports complex, which would support youth athletics as well as community events. There were also discussions about exploring a structured youth basketball league, potentially in partnership with local schools and community organizations. But beyond individual programs, the broader goal is ensuring Freeport offers activities and opportunities that can help young people stay engaged and be connected to the community. Council members also highlighted opportunities related to economic development and tourism. Freeport has a number of very unique assets that position the community well in this area, including the beachfront, the Brazos River waterfront, and the historic downtown area. Council submissions raised several ideas around how those assets could be further activated. This includes looking at ways to enhance the beachfront as a managed recreational and tourism destination, exploring redevelopment opportunities along the Brazos River waterfront, and creating more activity in the downtown and waterfront areas through events and programming. There was also discussion around strengthening regional marketing and branding efforts so that more visitors become aware of what Freeport has to offer. Taken together, these ideas point toward a broader theme of how the city can continue positioning Freeport as a coastal destination while also supporting local businesses and expanding economic activity within the community. Another topic raised during council submissions involves how municipal services are delivered. Specifically, there were suggestions to evaluate whether certain services that are currently contracted could potentially be brought in-house over time. The two services mentioned most frequently were solid waste collection and waste water and wastewater utility services. The concept raised in the council input was the idea of gradually establishing reserve funds that could be used to acquire the equipment necessary if the city ever decided to transition those services internally. Any decision in this area would require careful evaluation of operational capacity, financial implications, staffing needs, and long-term sustainability. And last, council submissions also included discussion around the long-term management of municipal facilities and public assets. Strategic planning around facilities can help protect public investments and ensure the city's operational needs are met as the community grows. One example raised was evaluating the possibility of purchasing the building currently being used for City Hall. Another related discussion was the potential future use or disposition of the former City Hall property. These conversations tie into a broader question of how the city manages its facilities over time and ensures that municipal operations are supported by appropriate infrastructure. When you look across all these themes, they begin to form a framework for the city's long-term direction. Infrastructure, public safety, youth opportunities, economic development, service delivery, and strategic assets all contribute to the same outcome, a sustainable growth for Freeport. Rather than approaching these items independently, the goal is to understand how they fit together as part of a broader strategy for the city's future. Tonight's discussion will begin shaping how those priorities may align moving forward. So what do our next steps look like? Following tonight's discussion, the next step in this process will be community engagement. Staff will work to gather input from residents, businesses, and community stakeholders regarding the priorities discussed this evening. If council is comfortable with staff taking these themes into the community for input before returning on April 20th with analysis and potential priority alignment.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. I've got a question for Ms. Hurst real quick.
Yes, sir.
When you had come up here earlier and we're talking about the community engagement online, is that tie in with what we're speaking about right now?
No, so I hadn't seen her presentation until tonight, so I think it's ironic, honestly, that we're both mentioning it. The tool that launched online is part of that budget software that y'all approved with this current budget cycle. We switched to that OpenGov platform. This is a free tool that comes with that. We're able to post, say during Harvey, some of the cities posted on there, how are you being affected, and residents could upload pictures, or if we start narrowing down projects, okay, which design do you like better, and we can post those pictures. It just helps give the constituents a broader voice, and then we can toggle it where responses remain anonymous, responses are hidden, those kinds of things. It's just a super neat tool that I would like to use for budget that will, ultimately will tie into this, but it is separate.
Yeah, 'cause it would be nice if we could sit at home watching the ball game and log on and answer some of the questions that are in front of us right now. So.
If that is something she wants to explore, we can absolutely do that, as we are able to use that same tool specifically for certain users or just strictly internal use. So.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, do you have anything? Go ahead.
I had a little bit more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I jumped in.
So we'll have analysis of community feedback that will be compiled and analyzed so council can see how community perspectives align with the themes discussed tonight. I'll return to council on April 20th with a summary of that input and analysis. And at that point, council will be able to consider the feedback and determine which priorities should guide the 26-27 budget and work program.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Council, any quick questions for Dr. Kelly on this? This is a process that I think is going to be beneficial in the long run. It is just started, so we probably don't have a whole lot of hard answers. But if you got some general questions, let's hear them.
Dr. Kelly, I'll just state, sorry, go ahead, Ashley.
Sorry, I don't even know if I can make a comment, but I did hear Mr. Pena say that we've done community engagement so many times and people feel like they aren't being heard. From a finance standpoint, I just want to reiterate that this is super refreshing to see a priority-based budgeting. In all of the budgets I've looked at in Freeport, that has never happened. This is a completely new approach.
This is the best approach we've ever had.
Exactly what I'm saying. So I encourage everyone, I understand that maybe in the past they haven't felt heard. Please get involved as we pave that new path that we haven't had.
Thank you for interrupting. Councilman Matamoros.
So, yes, I would like to concur with what Ashley just stated. I think this is a new way that Freeport should go. We should definitely be taking into account what our residents, our taxpayers would like to see prioritized. And so, Dr. Kelly, I agree. I think you should take this to the community, have them give their input, and let them, I mean, yes, they voted us in here, but, I mean, they may have other priorities that we may not be thinking about as a council. But I agree, this is something that we should be taking to the residents, letting them give their voice, so we can make sure that we are doing what the residents want and need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? You know, personally, I would like to see Freeport to a point to where all commodes flush in the middle of the rain. So, anything else, Council?
Yeah, I have another comment here in that, again, this approach is utilizing the information from, to make this decision and how to plan our budget going forward. It's not just one data point, it's not one data source, one information source. You definitely need to have the public's feedback on this, but I also think you need to look at what the cost, there's a cost approach to this. And, different councilmen may have different priorities that they also want to articulate. That also has to be weighed. But all of them, I think, have to really meet the threshold if it makes economic sense. The things that are definitely necessary, obviously, we have to be responsible for that in terms of how we budget for that so that it's effective. But for all the other nice-to-haves and how everybody's kind of contemplating how and why, the one project or another or one effort or another may benefit the city, there is a way to put some numbers to that. And I'm hoping that enough analysis is done by staff to provide meaningful numbers so that we can, in fact, differentiate, so that the staff's recommendation can be, money-driven, because we don't have a lot of it. And I like the expression that you've brought to the table here, is that you only eat what you kill. And so I'm hoping that we can kill a lot and eat a lot and grow a lot. And so right now, we have to really assess how much, in fact, we can eat and how much is being wasted. And, that's another component, is that where we want to prioritize stuff, it's not just about spending, it's about cutting. And so I'm hoping that the overall approach includes the places where they're not killing enough to eat. And so I just want to make sure that I mentioned that, we may need to tighten our belts in different areas, and I hope that we in fact do that, because that truly is where the genius of this approach being done very early on. I know in the past that it was discussed about this approach being done early on, and it was done maybe a month earlier or 2 months earlier. And that really didn't even matter, because when it came down to September and August, it was just hurry up and pass it with no discussion. And I will say, you know, this last budget cycle, that in fact also did happen. And so, you know, I made a big stink about that because it basically threw away any kind of real planning. So fortunately here, when we get to the budget cycle, I'm hoping that cooler minds and cooler heads and smarter brains will prevail here. And so I'm really leaning on our experienced staff and at the top and in our finance department, and for that matter, all the other department heads to help really bring together what those numbers are going to be to accomplish those priorities that are not only necessary, but are also going to help to grow Freeport. And I just want to make sure I mention that.
Thank you. Council, anyone else?
Yeah, well, just want to say I'm excited. I think we're going in the right direction. You know, I just want to encourage everybody to please have an open mind. You know, have an open mind and you know, don't just throw away the vision. I mean, you gotta have a vision, you know, in order for something to grow. You gotta plant the seed somewhere. And right now we got seeds planted in the desert, and it ain't raining, and ain't nobody watering them. You know, you gotta plant a seed and you gotta water it. And you know, I just want to encourage you that this is a step in the right direction. Like they said, I mean, everybody's gonna have input, and we just pray that, you know, decisions be made. You know, God's about to do something here in Freeport. You gotta believe it. You got to believe that, and you have to you know take the proper steps. You know, He's just not gonna give you nothing and you sit at home and wait on it and it show up at your door. You got to do your part. You know, you have to do your part too, and I think we're, you know, trying to do our part, and with everybody being involved, you know, we will be stronger. And we will start to thrive. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council, anyone else? All right, we're going to move on.
Mayor, can we table 4C and 4D, since I think one is Duncan's and the other one also requires legal?
4C, I don't think we can table.
Well, we have our city attorney there is the one that put it on the agenda.
I'm well aware of that. Let me get Dr. Kelly to answer the question about tabling this.
I did have a quick conversation with Mr. Duncan prior to the meeting. This is a requirement by law. It's not a discretionary approval. If you don't approve it tonight, it will automatically be enacted in 45 days.
All right.
So,
What's the meat and potatoes about it?
agenda item 4C, consideration and possible action adopting resolution number 2026-3038, granting a petition for release from extraterritorial jurisdiction by Verner Materials and Equipment Company, INC. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. Verner Materials and Equipment Company has filed a petition to release property from the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Under recently passed legislation, Chapter 42 of Texas Local Government Code provides the absolute right of property owners to be legally released from a city's ETJ. The city is required to grant the release. Under state law, each city has an extraterritorial jurisdiction within a certain distance of their actual city limits. In recent years, a city had the authority to annex land contained within the ETJ. Cities could also regulate building standards, approve plats, etc. However, the last few legislative sessions have seen a drastic decrease in the legal authority of local city governments. Annexation can only be accomplished if the property owner approves to be annexed. The only remaining authority cities have over ETJ is approving plats and replats. Under the 42.05 of the Texas Local Government Code, the city is required to grant the release.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-3038 as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion on this, gentlemen?
So what again happens if we don't vote on this or pass it or approve it?
It automatically becomes deemed approved within 45 days.
So it's almost just administrative at this point. Is there any reason why we would not want them to be out of the extraterritorial jurisdiction?
I do not have an answer for that.
I'm just curious if we're losing any ad valorem taxes, if we're losing any sales tax from that? Was there any reason given as to why they wanted to be removed?
They did not give a reason outside of their application.
In the application, there's no discussion or no description as to why?
No, sir.
What's, in your experience, what's a standard operating procedure on this when businesses want to wean themselves from the city's jurisdiction?
Well, at this point, it looks like the only thing that you have as a right as a city is approving plats and replats. So they would have to take that to the county.
So are there any tax benefits for having Vernon Materials and Equipment in the ETJ of Freeport?
I would have to find that out for you. I don't know the answer. I don't see Ashley here
Is
either.
Ms. Hurst still here?
No.
Is she outside?
Do we
Ashley?
receive ad valorem tax from the ETJ?
Yes, we do.
We do.
Do we know what that number is for Vernon Materials?
I don't have that on the top of my head, no.
Would that just be something we could just pull up on BCAD?
Yes, you could.
I'm just curious if you might be able to pull that up pretty quickly.
Right now?
I'm just kind of curious what valuation, what monies we're losing if they get removed.
Your
from
phone
the
may work faster. I
No,
don't have
trust
my
me,
tablet.
I got a janky phone right now. My good phone got busted about a couple weeks ago. So, Dr. Kelly, a vote against the release from the ETJ would really just mostly be symbolic that we really don't want to see businesses leaving our ETJ, especially if we're losing ad valorem revenue, right?
Correct.
Just trying to get an idea on how, this needs to be approached, both practically and politically. I'm just very curious as to why. If there's something that has changed materially in our ETJ, something that is beneficial. I'm just curious. I got a lot of other legal questions.
I have it pulled up, and to clarify, or I should say correct myself, no, the ETJ goes to the county, it looks like, and that's on the CAD website.
So none of it comes to us?
City of Freeport is not on here.
So there is no ad valorem benefit to the city?
Not listed from what I can see here, no, sir.
In the in the conversations that we're having on the industrial tax district,
Yes.
I'm just curious, I don't want to get into all the details of that particular negotiation. I'm just trying to really understand why this move, why this request to be released from our ETJ. Does that mean that I don't think they'd be a free entity. They would end up being in another ETJ, isn't that right? Is that correct? Does anybody have that answer?
I just believe they're an unincorporated county.
Because if I recall correctly, basically the way the county map reads, and I'm just going off memory, is that the county map has city limits and the rest that's, in between the city limits is the county, but the county is painted with ETJs and there are no blank spaces.
That's correct. But even if we wanted to annex them, we couldn't unless they agreed to it at this point.
I see. No further questions.
Council, anyone else? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Councilman Pena, 4D, you had mentioned you wanted to table. This one is your item, so if you would like to table,
I'd like to actually just put it in executive session, actually.
we can't go into executive session
No?
without consultation with the attorney.
Well, I have questions for our city manager.
Okay,
I don't think that we need an attorney present in executive session to have executive session.
are we going to table it or not? I need that answer first. The reason I ask that answer, we have a citizen that has signed up to speak on this particular item.
Well, we can, if we decide to bring it out of executive session to make a motion on it, then the citizen can speak then. Or if they want to speak now, then that's your call.
Ms. Oldham?
Hello, I'm Melanie Oldham, 531 West Brazos Street. And I was actually hoping to have Mr. Pena explain this a little bit because it's kind of vague. But
Ms. Oldham, can you hold on just 1 second? I'm having an issue with our time clock. There you go.
okay, so it states possible action to select alternate property substitution options and authorize all necessary actions to remove the open space program restrictions on the city-owned 25-acre lot. And the thing is, we're talking about the land on 2nd Street where the old community center used to be. And I've been coming to these meetings 18 years, and I remember, well, when the Hispanic Chamber came and they wanted to put some sort of a cultural event center. I've heard at least 2 developers say they might put a hotel or something, but they always demanded they want access to the river where the public could not any longer have public access. And so that's a big concern. And like I said, I guess Mr. Pena will explain to the public eventually what you mean by that. But open space, as you know, means all the parks along the river, the public access on the rivers, Bryan Beach. And so way our ordinance or whatever reads is that our goal, and in our city comprehensive plan, we're supposed to have so many acres of parkland or coastal access per 1,000 residents of Freeport. And you all probably know that when the city sold Lincoln Park on the east end, that has to be replaced eventually, substituted. Also on the Clinton Long land, there's a designated park, Houston Park, which you didn't like to talk about, but that's going to have to, so we are lacking some of the open spaces in parkland. So I guess when y'all get down to the details, what Mr. Pena means by remove the open space program restrictions, what does that mean? Will that take away our public access along that whole area by where the old community center used to be? If so, I and others wouldn't be for that, but maybe I don't, it's pretty vague, and I guess you'll explain it to you all and then eventually to the public. But I have some concerns about that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, I'll answer one part of the comment by Ms. Oldham. At the end of the day, Melanie, the goal is to maximize the river usage, the riverfront usage. So that's probably about the best I can describe to you. But if anything else, it'll actually enhance its usage and access by the public. So that's a good thing. If you're trying to emphasize that, hey, we can't lose that, I'm saying we're not going to lose it. We're going to enhance the use. And there's some other big, fun ideas coming down the pipe. So more details to come.
So did you want to table this?
I'd still like to get into executive session about it. But we can handle the other agenda items in the meanwhile.
Trying to get this answer real quick. Is that what you're doing? No. Oh, I thought she was. Counsel, I don't feel comfortable going into executive session without the attorney. So, Councilman Pena, would you like to table this or make a motion on this?
Well, I'm just making a request to put it in the executive session. We can in fact meet when we have met before without the city attorney. We did it on numerous occasions when Olson & Olson didn't have a representative here. And I know that Mr. Duncan is out sick tonight.
Mr. Duncan is out sick tonight and without legal advice on this.
Well, again, executive session isn't necessarily just for legal advice. It's also to discuss it internally here with some sensitive information that we should at least certainly weigh. And if it draws up additional legal questions, then we can hand those over to Ms. Kelly to have those addressed with legal when he returns to good health and back at City Hall.
Well, Councilman Pena, once again, I do not feel comfortable doing that.
Well, you didn't have any discomfort when it was Olson & Olson. I don't know why you're not comfortable tonight, sir. What are you afraid- what are you
Councilman
afraid
Pena,
of?
would you like to table this or would you like to vote on it?
I'd like to move it into executive session so that we can have a meaningful discussion about it. I've said this 3 times already.
All right. I'm going to make a motion that we table agenda item 4D, and I'm asking for a second.
I'll second.
I'll just say this is very important to the sports complex discussion.
I'm all for having the discussion, Councilman Pena.
Doesn't seem like it. So we take a vote?
We have a motion to table and a second by Councilman Matamoros. I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed state nay.
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 Motion carries 3-2.
That's fair. Just all out in the open.
Agenda item 4E. Consideration and take possible action to establish the Shonda Marshall Public Service Civic Award, a posthumous award to presented annually to a Freeport resident who has demonstrated exemplary commitment to public service in the city of Freeport. Councilman Pena.
Thank you. Yeah, this award idea for Ms. Marshall just made sense. And then there's really not much more to explain other than as for all of those that are involved and for that matter familiar with her work on the EDC board and her work here at council and coming to council really religiously. And I can tell you there's probably two or three other residents that are here tonight that would also be good examples of citizens who are just committed to the city. But what really distinguishes Mrs. Marshall is that, as everybody knows, she was handicapped, she was blind, and she was also deaf. And yet she strived every day to move and act and volunteer on behalf of the city. And she didn't have to do that. And I know it made her efforts just for her own personal comfort that much more difficult. But I've never seen anybody so committed to the city and to give a real example of meaning, not only for the improvements of the city of Freeport, but just also being an amazing example of a citizen and as a human being even. And so, you know, I actually had the honor of attending her funeral, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room, number one. But as Councilman Davis can attest, because he was also there, that just the prayers and the outpouring for Miss Marshall and what she meant to the community and how she carried herself with integrity for transparency and accountability, that's everything that every resident should strive for. And so I thought it was only appropriate to put this in place so that maybe the rest of our board members, or for that matter, our citizens, can be recognized when they too going forward are going above and beyond. And that's the essence of it all. And so I make a motion that we do this. The logistics of it all, I would entrust that into the city staff to, as mentioned in my memo, to outline what those parameters would be, much like how we do the employee of the month. And this would be framed around public service. And you know, for the last 6 years, there's always been somebody. And I thought, there's been no award been given, but I thought, let's go ahead and do that. And who better than to exemplify and personify those traits than Ms. Marshall?
So council, is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Any further discussion needed on this, gentleman?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if we're able to develop a award for public servants, civic award, I mean, I can't think of a better person to name it after. Just knowing the commitment Ms. Marshall had to the city of Freeport, even losing her sight, losing her hearing, and still pushing on to want to be a part of the city of Freeport. And if you went to any meetings or if you was on any boards that she was on, you know that through all of that, she still was prepared. She had done her homework, and you like, how? You know, some kind of way, but her preparation, I mean, she knew what was going on in spite of she couldn't see and she couldn't hear. And, you know, she was a smart lady before, you know, she got degrees and all of that stuff from college and everything. So she was a smart lady before she lost her sight and stuff. But just knowing and just seeing her, around town and at the here at the city council meetings and on 2 and 3 boards and know what's going on and researched and was just prepared, not just on the board, was active. I mean, that's a testimony to itself and inspiration for, someone to see. And it's just a beautiful thing if we could come up with an award to name after her and present it out to the citizens annually. I just think that was just a beautiful thing that you even thought of doing that. So,
Thank you, Councilman. Council, anyone else?
So I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Looking at this agenda memo that was submitted, it says discussion and direction. It doesn't say action. And in special considerations, it says the item is for discussion and direction. No final action is required at this stage. So are we changing from this memo to?
The agenda request was
The-
consider and take
yeah.
possible action.
The agenda does read consider and take possible action.
Okay, because I'm just reading what the agenda memo that was presented states. So, okay. Well, then my just discussion is, Ms. Marshall, she provided a lot of engagement with our city. And there were many others before her that did so. Myself, I would like to see this named as a generic award and her be the first recipient. Because that would be, there's just been a lot of other residents before her that have dedicated their time, effort. And so, yeah, I would like to see that. Okay. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Rosso, you got anything to add?
You got to be kidding me. So it's been a lot of people before her. That's probably true. But if there was, then you had every opportunity to bring one forward to try to do that yourself for somebody. So, I mean, if you just don't want to do it, just say it. It'll come out when it's time to vote. But don't just knock it down like that.
I didn't knock it down.
I mean, that's what you're doing. Gentlemen, you're saying, hey, well, then you need to, I'm talking right now.
One conversation at a time,
There you
gentlemen.
go, thank you. Thank you. So if you know of anyone who's well-deserving of any award, George will support that too. Bring the facts. Bring their name out. Give a presentation of what they do. We'll support that too. But you want to make another award for somebody else? So be it. But for you to just try to downplay this award, that's what you did, because first of all, it clearly says consideration and take possible action up there at the top, and you tried to go there with it. And then you come back and say, well, there's plenty more people more deserving, so what are we going to say? They're more deserving? of someone that was blind and couldn't hear, disabled, but they were more deserving? Got to be kidding me.
Well, if you can look at reading comprehension, which you probably don't understand, in the memo, it says discussion and direction.
That's
That's what I'm going at.
That was a good one, but what did it start off saying?
I am looking at the memo.
That's a good one.
That-
Well,
that's
look
just
at
a
the
title.
agenda. That's
All
a
right,
good one.
gentlemen,
That's how you do. You try to downgrade people, but that's okay. That's how you do.
Gentlemen, we're going to get back on
Just said
this.
that
God
the
gonna handle
chief is
you.
doing the same thing to me.
Well, I didn't downgrade you. I just said what you said.
Council. That's enough. We're going to get back on track.
Hold tight.
Personally, I think Ms. Marshall did a great job. It's been stated up here several times already that she showed up to meetings prepared. Like Councilman Davis said, you know, how she did it, I don't know. Okay, but she did. And I commend her for that. Now, I also feel, like Councilman Matamoros had mentioned, there are others that have come that have done as much. It's hard to, you can't measure, so you can't say as much or more. Okay, but have done as much. Okay, and no disrespect whatsoever to Miss Marshall. Personally, I too feel like it should be more of a City of Freeport Citizen of the Year. And I too feel like, in honor of Miss Marshall, that she should be the first recipient of it. So Councilman Davis, I know you can hear me. Your vote's probably going to be needed on this. Once again, I'm all for the Citizen of the Year award. So with that, gentlemen, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
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 All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Nay. You said aye. Motion passes 3-2.
Amen. God bless you, Shonda Marshall.
Agenda item 4F. Ms. Oldham. You have 1 minute and 38 seconds remaining.
Well, I hope tonight that y'all are just discussing and not taking any action. I know there's a lot of ideas on rebranding for the city, and what was proposed was a versatile Texas city where coastal tourism, residential life, maritime commerce, and industry thrive. The industry thrive gives me heartburn, and maybe Mr. Pena will explain that. And I don't have enough time to go into it, but down here, it states that, we need to get rid of outdated or negative perceptions associated with industrial activity in the city. We want industry to be around, be good neighbors, but we don't need any more industry. We need to support our small businesses, get some good commercial in here, housing, but I don't understand, maybe we'll get a definition of what that means to make industry thrive. What does that mean? And Mr. Pena, maybe later you can explain what you mean by that, but I think other people, I think the coastal idea, making the river, the beach, that's our assets here, and I think that's very important, but again, helping industry thrive, I think there needs to be discussion on that.
Thank you, Ms. Oldham. I think it's the buttons on the remote. If we had a remote like a TV remote, it'd be so much easier. All right, agenda item 4F.
Sorry. I was testing my mic.
Okay to proceed?
Please, because of my microphone was coming on and off. Thank you. We're good.
I'm going to leave that there.
You should.
Agenda item 4F, consideration and take possible action regarding Freeport's city branding strategy. Councilman Pena.
Yes. Ms. Oldham, I'm so glad you came up tonight and told and shared how the industrial component gives you heartburn. Because that's my whole point. Freeport's a four-letter word. In the minds and eyes of people thinking this is just an industrial wasteland, second-rate city in the county. And that's why we need a rebrand. I was told that the EDC was looking at doing some rebranding, and I'm just thinking, that's the tail wagging the dog. The EDC doesn't do that. The city does that. And I'm just kind of disappointed that the EDC, if in fact that isn't true, if that is in fact true, that they didn't come to council to consult with us to say, hey, we're looking to do this. And I just know with the track record that I've seen out of the current EDC board and leadership, the staffing, there have been a lot of cover-ups, corruption, illegalities, and I'm going to say, no, it's not bullshit. And I will bring the receipts. I hope that you can gavel those, Mayor, who are speaking out of turn just the way you gavelled the councilman here tonight. Please do your job, sir. I speak the truth. And so
Mr.
I have the
McGinty.
receipts, and I will tell you, I don't want to get off track about the EDC. I want to stay on track about the branding. I think maybe it was 15 years ago, 16 years ago, 20 years ago. What was the branding? It changed, or it was created. It was where fun happens. Kind of a generic statement, kind of a throwaway statement. I'm not sure that any of all the intended plans for where fun happens actually were ever realized, just because of all the corruption and squandering of inside deals, of riverfront property given to friends, and I got the receipts on those too. And I was exposed to those when I was just a wee little greenhorn on the EDC in my first year, just sitting there quietly, listening, as lies piled on and piled on. So let me just get to the point. The point is that if we're going to really differentiate ourselves from this reputation about industry, I want to be crystal clear about something. The industry isn't going anywhere. And I want to be extra clear that I've always said this. I remember I was interviewed when I was running for council the first time by a resident, an elderly man that came by and knocked on my door and wanted to pick my brain as to what my ideas were for the city. And quite honestly, the question he had posed to me, I was not prepared to answer because I didn't have a canned answer. I was new to Freeport. All I had was some common sense. And his question was, so how do you see the east end and the port, and how the port should be working or existing with the city, and for that matter, should we be trying to limit its reach and influence and growth? And my answer was just real simple. I said, listen, at the end of the day, the port's not going anywhere. There's too many billions of dollars that are all too important to this county. But what we need to do is make sure that we strike a balance with them so that the city can thrive, the port can grow, the port can thrive, but the city of Freeport has a responsibility to itself to take on the developments of residential development, of making sure that we're doing our part to hold our industrial tax partners accountable and make sure that they're paying their fair share. And that's really all we can ask. And you got to think, okay, well, how much leverage do we have? Well, that gets into a whole bunch of other legalese. And if you remember on the east end, as Mr. Rollerson was here tonight speaking about, I had always maintained that the city should not and did not have to sell that property.
Councilman Pena.
Hold on.
Hold on. I'm sure everybody wants to hear your story.
But you.
But
you.
we need a motion.
Well, I'm about to make the motion.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but I got to give it some background.
Well, the background,
what if the background is-
information is right here,
No.
and it doesn't state anything that you've talked about.
Would you prefer that I just prepare a statement for you to read for me? Because we know how that's going to go.
That's what everybody else does.
No, that's what you're thinking, sir. That might be what maybe 5 other people might be thinking, but I can guarantee you, for all those people that signed the petition to have you recalled, they want to hear what I have to say.
All right.
Because I listen to what they tell me, actually. So I'm just repeating what they tell me. So when you're silencing me, you're silencing over 300 residents in Freeport. So let me just
Are
finish
you
up
going to
by
make a
saying
motion,
this.
Councilman?
Do not rush my motion or my discussion. It says here, consider and take possible action. Discuss, okay? So this is my discussion point, and I'm not going to be too much longer.
Discussion happens
The more you
after
keep-
a motion is made.
The point you keep interrupting.
Therefore, I will make a motion to deny agenda item 4F,
And you're interrupting, I had the floor.
and I am asking for a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Matamoros.
I'm trying to finish the
Now,
point.
is there any discussion, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what are we talking about here? Branding strategy. What are we trying to vote on? Like, point that out to me. I mean, this a question for you. I want to know what.
Yeah, it's
what
real
branding
simple.
strategy.
But unfortunately,
What
the
do we
premise
do?
of the motion is to just not even talk about it.
No?
No, the motion, so now it's open, the floor is open now. Now you can say whatever you want to say. So, but
I'll leave
I'm
it for,
trying to-
I'm going to table it for the next meeting, my discussion.
There's already a motion on the floor.
Well, that's okay.
All right, so
Your motion is
My-
to just table this, basically.
my input on this, and the reason I made a motion to deny this, I'm not denying the fact that we need to rebrand the city. Okay, I'm not denying the fact that there's, 5 different images that are used throughout the city? I'm not denying the fact that when you come into the city right now, there's new banners hanging up on the bridge that don't tie into anything. Okay? The city does need to go into a study and let's look and find a brand that works for the city.
Don't try to make these your talking points, Jerry. You're looking to deny it.
Councilman
So I'm just
Pena,
curious.
I have got the
What are
floor
you-
right
What are
now.
you denying then? What are you denying? What's your motion of denial really mean then? Because you're.
Well, if you would let me finish, sir.
You're echoing my very points, and you didn't let me finish.
If you will let me finish.
I don't know why we should. It's so long-winded with nonsense.
That ain't the pot calling the kettle. The reason I'm denying this is in the January meeting, I believe it was January meeting of the EDC, and although Councilman Pena does not trust or have faith in the EDC,
For good reason.
I do.
for good reason.
In the January meeting of the EDC, which they've been looking at wayfinding signs for years. They've been studying that. That was even back when you were on the EDC, that was something that they were looking at.
Not true.
It's true. So the company that the EDC
Not true.
has contracted to do this also is looking at rebranding. Okay, this is the same company that rebranded Pearland. Okay, so when you drive into Pearland, you see the fancy arches with the green pear on the side. Okay, it's the same company that did that.
Mayor, if you were the liaison
Councilman?
to the EDC, why didn't you bring that up to the council?
It's all online.
No,
It's
that's
all
why you're the
online.
liaison or the bad one at it. Why are you keeping all this stuff?
Councilman?
It's a question, it's just a simple question.
So, once this company finishes its study and brings back its proposals, the EDC doesn't make the decision to accept those. Council does.
Nobody would have had an idea.
So those
had an idea on the agenda.
proposals will be brought to council to decide. Accept them, accept this one, accept that one, or don't accept them. Being a steward of the finances of the city,
Hardly.
these studies, these people that you get to come up with these, don't do it free. So if you already are paying a company to do just what Councilman Pena is wanting to do,
You don't know what I was going to do.
then
You don't know what I was going to propose to
why
do.
pay someone else? So that, council, is why I made a motion to not do this. It's not because I don't think we need to rebrand the city. It's because we already have a company that is working on it. See what happens. If they come back with something that we don't like, then we tell them to try again. If they still come back with something we don't like, and we decide to pay someone else, we pay someone else. So, council, any other questions?
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
Is this organization, I mean, first of all, I'll just make a comment before a question, is that your little update here would have never happened unless I put this on the agenda, first and foremost. But secondly, we have engaged this whole strategic plan for the budget. It would make sense that something as important as an agenda, as a branding matter for the city, would also be engaging the citizens for their feedback. And I can tell you right now, the whole point I want to make is, and putting this here in addition to making sure that we actually do move in this direction, is that we need to basically make sure that we do rebrand as we have a new city hall staff that for the first time I feel completely confident that we can move meaningfully and efficiently and effectively. And so I was just going to say, when I was out here, and I'm at the beach a lot, visiting with all these visitors and residents, visiting our beach, and the conversations about what it would mean to the city and for their visitation, and for that matter, just how they won't forget where they're at, thinking that they're at Surfside, but that they're at Freeport. And I thought, well, you start looking at all these other cities, like Virginia Beach, Myrtle Beach, Cocoa Beach, Pebble Beach. I mean, what says more about Freeport being a beach city than just naming it Freeport Beach? And that was my whole input here, was I think we need to rebrand the city, not the city of Freeport, but just Freeport Beach. And this way, it takes out the question of whether or not we have a beach. And it also really changes the reputation of what we have as an industrial wasteland, if you will. But make no mistake about it, we have these beaches, we have these rivers, and I think that we just need to rename ourselves Freeport Beach. And it doesn't mean that we don't hold the industrial partners here responsible and accountable for clean and safe. That's all we need. As long as it's clean and safe, everybody can grow harmoniously. And that's all I have.
Council, anyone else have anything on this? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Councilman Davis, I didn't catch your vote.
What is it? What was the aye? What was it?
To deny.
Oh, yeah.
Aye. Okay. So vote goes 4-1.
That's okay. Just want to make sure it's on the record. Now the public knows what's going on.
Agenda item 4G, consideration and take possible action to waive the fee of River Place rental for the Brazosport High School prom. Councilman Davis.
Yes, this was just something that was brought to my attention, and the principal was reaching out to me and asking if there's any way that, the city could help them out. They had reserved River Place for the Brazosport prom this year, earlier in the year, and then later on after that, council changed the rule and where nonprofits, some kind of way, nonprofits don't get a free rental anymore. It affected that, so they got a call saying, things have been changed, and so now they owe a fee to rent the River Place. Well, the prom is not really budgeted by the BISD, by the school, fully budget, so they didn't have a budget for the rental fee because it was usually free. And so they were saying, knowing now in the future, if they want to use that, they will budget to make that payment, but this year they didn't budget to make that payment, so they were asking if there was any way that we could waive that fee for them this year, and going further in the future, they now know that they need to budget this fee for the River Place if they want to use it again. So
I'm sure you want to make a motion.
yes, I want to make a motion to waive the fee for the River Place for the Brazosport High School prom this year.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Matamoros.
Quick question. When is their River Place, when's their prom?
Say it again.
When's the prom?
I didn't get the actual
The
date.
date.
Is it already reserved?
But they had reserved it already, so, it's still reserved.
Doug Kelly, I have a quick question on the new rules for the River Place. The council have use of that space for free. I'd like to donate my time, my reservation that I'm allowed for the year, and donate it to the high school prom.
Thank you.
Problem solved.
That's
I
what I was,
don't know if you want to make that
that's
as
what I was
part of
just
the-
asking.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I already used mine, so that's why I couldn't do it. I would have done it, but
I'm happy to use mine.
my daughter had an engagement party over there. But
Well, this puts us at a interesting crossroad.
so that-
Councilman Davis, you're the one that put it on here. I want to ask you, do you want to accept the donation from the councilman, or do you want to take a vote and have a unification from council?
Well, I'll accept the donation from the councilman. Pull my motion.
Councilman okay, you're going to pull your motion. Councilman Matamoros, you're going to do the same?
I'll pull mine.
Thank you, Councilman Pena.
I think you would have got a 5-0 vote.
Yeah. Good, I hope so.
Good. So Browsport High School is taken care of, so is agenda item 4G, which brings us to our work session. Councilman Pena, Ward A.
Oh, I just want to thank for all of those. How many folks do we have online right now? Mr. Cohen? 35. Thank you to the 35 people at home that are tuning in. And we hope that you are motivated to participate in the information sharing, information gathering that the City Hall staff have put together online, and for that matter, any future hearings that we have. And I do hope that the EDC instructs the branding company to reach out to our community so that the community has feedback on this versus simply having a third-party corporate brainstorm branding option for us. My idea was just Freeport Beach. Others may have some other near and dear reasons as to what they might think. And so we need to make sure that we include those. And I hope that gets back to the EDC board. We have 2 members in here. Well, we did. We only have 1 left. Also, I want to comment that I want to thank the city staff for all the work that they've done here in preparation of the city for spring break and all the visitors here along the river, certainly at the beach and in downtown, making sure that the water features are working, and for that matter, over by the fishing pier off of 2nd Street. I also want to thank the police department for continuing to provide the safety and security here in council. It's funny that the folks that are crying foul about it are the ones that I could say are part of the problem. And so I'm so glad that we are steadfastly holding to the additional safety measures that were actually deemed necessary by Chief Howe way back in October of '23, only to have Lance Petty and Jerry Kane and George Matamoros trying to deny that very request of security. I'm so glad that these guys, the chief, captain, the lieutenant, and the rest of the police department staff have worked so hard to get this particular facility here, this building, this courtroom, in a safe space for us to meet. I think the comment earlier by Chino was that it's starting to stink like a courthouse. Well, I don't know what that means, but maybe if you have a criminal record, you don't like the smell of a courtroom, but I'm fine with it. I think it's actually cleaner and better and safer. So thank you to our staff, to our police department, and for all the good and hard work that they do. I also wanted to ask about the Zumba classes, what the story is on that, why they were discontinued, and how those would be brought back, and how soon are we able to answer that question tonight?
I do not, but I have it on my list to look into.
Thank you. No further comments at this point. Thank you.
Councilman Davis, Ward B.
All right. Thank everybody for coming out, everybody from tuning in on the web. I see representative from Viola had left. I wanted to thank them for, I think they replaced finally got the fire hydrant replaced over there on the south side, Mr. Winston. I see it's shiny candy red, you know, something you wanted to see. So it's shiny too. Yeah, so I wanted to thank them for that. I think Dr. Kelly and all of them, you know, coordinated, had something to do with, you know, some of that maybe, I'm not sure, but thank all of y'all for, you know, making that a priority and getting that changed out. But, you know, some of the things that we were discussing today, and some I didn't get to point out, one part of the vision is, you know, just a little, sometimes it's the little things. And I think, once again, we're moving in the right direction with you know, having a vision for Freeport. And, you know, Freeport's a lack of unified vision is a need for a coordinated beautification. You know, beautification, that's something small that brings together key boards and organizations. Currently, groups such as the EDC, Main Street, Planning and Zoning, beautification committees, they often work independently, each pushing in different directions. This fragmentation prevents the city from making meaningful progress. When leadership is divided, even strong ideas struggle to take root. So I just think we need to come together all as one. And, you know, bringing these organizations together under the same vision would allow Freeport to move forward with purpose. Beautification is a powerful starting point because small visible improvements can quickly build momentum, enhancing the interests of Freeport, improving the medians, revitalizing 2nd Street, you know, putting some lighting down there, and adding lighting along the Brazos River will create a more welcoming, attractive environment. These changes signal pride, stability, and growth. Growth qualities that attract residents, visitors, and investors. As the city begins to look better, people begin to feel better about it. And the shift in perception can spark broader transformation. United leadership is essential. As a saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Freeport has enormous potential, but realizing it requires everyone pushing in the same direction. So I just hope everybody keep an open mind and let's come together and make Freeport, you know, a better place to live, to visit, and, you know, a better place for our youth to grow and live here in Freeport and stay here. So just thank y'all for coming out, and hopefully we get it together.
Thank you, Councilman. Ward C, Councilman Matamoros.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I just got back from family vacation in New Orleans last week, and I was following from afar our boys basketball team, and I was proud of the men and the young men, how they came together for one goal, and they went really far. Wish they could have gone just a tad bit farther to cut down those nets in San Antonio, but they didn't make it. I'm proud of every single one of them. Don't know any of them, but I'm proud of them. Proud that they call Freeport their home, Brazosport High School their school. And I'd like to see the city give them a proclamation next council meeting in honor of their successes this year. So that's something I'd like to see if we can do that. On to issues within the Ward C. I'm starting to see quite a few within our undeveloped alleyways from Avenue F all the way to U. Mainly, what caught my eye was in an alleyway between U and T. Someone cut down a tree in their yard, and then they just put it in the undeveloped alleyway and just left it there. If we can have city crews look at that, especially because that's where the majority of the power lines run through. So if we have a storm, they won't be able to have access to that areas. Have code enforcement start looking at that. I couldn't tell who it was because they did a real good job of cutting it down in their yard and then putting it in the alleyway. I'm also starting to notice, because with a lot more traffic and heat, some of our streets are starting to buckle. So if we can, I know Avenue Yellowstone, between Avenue N and O, the street is starting to break pretty bad on Avenue O, Avenue M, and there's other ones. I'll send you a list. They're small now. I'd hate for them to get too big, and then we have a bigger issue where we have to replace larger sections of street. So if we can maybe have our public works start looking at that. I'll send you the exact address locations. And then lastly, noticed and I brought it up off of Yellowstone and Avenue G, the resident, it looked like city went, tried to do something. It was maybe a little bit too wet in the ditch next to Mr. Zerlot's house, and they just left it there. If we can at least communicate with the resident, Tom Zerlot, and I can provide his information and let him know if we're going to be able to resolve that issue, because water's just standing there for weeks and months. It just doesn't drain like it's supposed to. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Ward D, Councilman Rosso.
First of all, I'd like to thank all our participants, those out in cyber world, and those that came out tonight to be a part of the council meeting. Your presence is, especially you guys that came out and were citizen enough to come to the meeting. Excuse me, I'd like to recognize I'd like the city of Freeport to recognize the basketball team that went to state this year. It is a very, very hard thing to go to state. You got to go 4 rounds. You're playing against other cities, and all those schools are good, just like we were this year. And we need to do something as a city to let these kids know that we appreciate what they did. So that'll be left up to us, the city of Freeport, everyone involved. We should make a big thing out of it because it is a big thing. It's a really big thing. I go to a Gulf Coast Transit District meeting tomorrow. I'm on the board, and very interesting what's going on in Missouri County. They serve Galveston and they serve Missouri County. They have a big budget. They got a lot of money. So when you see these vans and buses and things running through a city, give them a hand wave. Let them know that you appreciate them. I said at last meeting that everyone doesn't have a car, or everyone doesn't have transportation, but we do have a service which we've been needing for years, and we finally got it. Gulf Coast Transit, very cheap, 50 cents, $1. You can put a wheelchair in it or a walker, and they'll take you for, man, pennies actually. We need to utilize that because we want that business to stay in place. Since I've been on this council, I'm a giver. I enjoy helping people. And since I've been on this council, I've said that you can call me, text me, email me, and I'll help you out. I don't know anybody that I hadn't helped out, even from other precincts. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm tooting my horn, but I'm telling you the truth. I've been around here in Freeport for over 70 years, and a lot of people know me, so I'm like a go-to. People call me, and if I can help them, I would. And sometimes I'll send them over to another precinct. It depends on what they need. But I'll reiterate and tell you that if you have a problem in Freeport, give me a call. I'll call Jerry, or I'll call Jarvis, or I'll call Mr. Pena, or I'll call George, and we can get it done. But I want everyone to remember, there isn't a call that I've gotten that I didn't address or I didn't go, and I've been helping people ever since I've been on this council. Matter of fact, I used to help people before I got on this council. And that's all I got, Jerry.
Thank you, Councilman. You know, I too would like to thank everybody that showed up. You know, it's what, 8:38. Shows that we can get stuff done in a timely manner. But it's nice to see those that stuck around, those that are still watching online. You know, a couple things I'd like to mention. One, the Zumba classes. We really need to find out what's going on there, what we got to do to get that back going. And I encourage the city whenever there is a program like this that is going to be shut down for whatever reason, we need to make sure we give those citizens as much of a notice as possible. There's nothing worse showing up to work and the doors are locked. Yeah, and I'm sure those citizens that showed up to Zumba class felt the exact same way. So we need to do better by that and do what we can to resume the Zumba classes. I too feel like, although the end result wasn't what they were shooting for, wasn't what they strived for, they fell one game short. But our Brazosport Exporters basketball team did something that was incredible this year. You know, one game shy. And yes, the city needs to do something, whether it's in the form of a proclamation or something. And I encourage council to give Dr. Kelly as much input as you can to make sure we do it, not only that we do it, but we do it right. I don't usually use this time for things other than positive comments, but I have to say, there was a comment made earlier that back in 2023, I somehow told the chief of police not to have extra security or something. He really didn't go into detail. But mind you, in 2023, I was a councilman. I was not sitting in the mayor's seat. I've had one conversation with the chief of police about security at the council meetings. And she made it clear to me in that conversation that it is her job, her duty in the city of Freeport to make sure all citizens are safe. She said if she felt the need to have extra security, then we would have extra security. And I explained to her I'm okay with that. That is true, Councilman, you were not on the conversation. I said, however, I do not want the officers back here. I would prefer them on the other side of the counter, right here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how that conversation went. It was not in 2023, it was probably a year and a half ago. So I just needed to say that to set the record straight. With that, Dr. Kelly?
Yes, sir, thank you. All right, it's almost Riverfest time, and that's going to be April 24th and 25th. And we have something new this year. We have a mascot. It is a shrimp, to hearken to our shrimping heritage here. So, if you want to have some fun, we're having a naming contest to name our new mascot. We have some excellent suggestions already, but please feel free to send them in. You can tag us on Facebook with your suggestions. You can tag the rec center with your suggestions. We're super excited about our new Riverfest shrimp. And in that vein, we also have the wastewater treatment plant ribbon cutting is this Wednesday from 10 to 11 at 931 East Floodgate Road. Celebrate the opening of a new $5.9 million improvement for the wastewater system in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have executive session next on the agenda. However, 6A is executive session consultation with attorney, and the next one is legal consultation and real property deliberation. Our city attorney could not make it tonight as he is feeling ill and may have even gone to the hospital. So with that, we will not be going into executive session. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Councilman Davis. I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
Nay.
We are adjourned.